A lot of Christians, when they hear the word heart, they instantly think of that it's evil and that it's wicked and that you can't trust it and you shouldn't follow it and you shouldn't live from it. Well, that's true if you don't know Jesus. But if you've said yes to him, you have a new heart. You have a new core. You know, the heart can be best understood at this point as your inner man, the inner being, the deepest part of who and what you are. That part of you that is directly connected to the Spirit of God, the part of you that receives God's divine influence. Everything that God does within you, he does through your heart into your life. Your heart is the soil that grows the kingdom. Your heart is the soil that the Word of God is planted in. And what we have to learn how to do is tend the garden of our heart to be in the best receptive place to let the Word of God grow. And Jesus, even when he talks about the kingdom, he talks about it, the Word being planted in your heart and the condition of the soil. Your heart determines the degree of the kingdom that will grow into your life. The condition of your heart is not judged or dependent upon your behavior. Although your behavior can affect the hardness or the receptivity of your heart, it doesn't change your heart. But the heart is what you should pay most attention to in your disciplined life, in your discipleship life, in your life to follow Jesus, meaning what you're allowing to dwell within you. But blessing the Lord with your soul means to not just sit there in worry and fear and doubt and acknowledge that maybe God might show up and might do something for your life. No, blessing the Lord with your soul is taking responsibility for your inner world. What's going on inside there? What are you allowing to dwell in your heart and in your mind and in your feelings and in your emotions and in your thoughts and then in your actions? You know, Christianity is pretty bad about focusing on actions to judge things. And it's like, no, it's a matter of the heart. What's going on in your heart? I know what's going on in your heart because I hear it coming out of your mouth. And if I see something in your life, I see an action, I'm not going to question your salvation. I'm going to question what you're allowing to dwell in your heart. What is it that you are focusing on? What is it? What kind of emotions are you allowing to dwell within you? Do they match what God says about you, or do they match what the world says about you and what you've done in this world and what the world has done to you and what the doctor says and what your mom did and what your dad didn't do and what your kids are doing, you know, all that stuff. We allow that to not corrupt, but get within our heart and shift our focus. And we talk about it all the time in here, but Christianity really is a journey of living from the inside out. Living from the knowledge of knowing that you are righteous in Him, that Jesus has done the work, you've been joined to God, He's placed His Spirit within you, He has betrothed Himself to you in a sense. We are married to Him, one in spirit, and then that heart is the aspect that He sheds His character and His light. See, you will do what you believe about yourself. You've got this little portrait, this self-portrait installed within you, and you check it every time you make a decision. I don't care what that decision is. And if you see that aspect of you in that self-portrait, what you believe about yourself, what you feel about yourself, and that self-portrait has been painted by the world around you, that self-portrait painted by somebody else, kind of a paradox. It's been painted. That image of you has been painted and touched up and photoshopped and all this stuff that's within you. But it should be painted by God, and you look at it and you say, no, this is who God says that I am. How I see myself is how God sees me. So I'm not going to allow myself to go that direction. I'm not going to allow myself to move, even think those kinds of thoughts, because I know what thinking those kinds of thoughts leads me to. Well, you're not admitting reality, brother. Well, you know what? Heaven is my reality. That's the greatest reality that we have possibility of connecting to. Whatever you're going through, your role is to let the imagination of your heart, where your mind goes. And you know, when you're learning how to meditate, or you're going through something difficult and you have been meditating, meditation just being prayer, you meditate all the time. You meditate on what you want to eat. You meditate on what in the world that person was thinking that drove that way. Like you imagine, now I get it, that person, You know what I mean? Like that is meditation. Anytime you sit, anytime you're thinking about something that you're not doing, that's meditation. You're thinking about it, you're shaping it up, you're feeling a certain way about it, you're letting it affect your decisions. The imagination and the perceptions of your heart must be fueled by by what's possible, by what Jesus paid for, by who he says that you are, this identity that he's given you within his finished work. Also let yourself imagine your heavenly reality, your existence within Christ, the fact that he's within you and shaping you. Are you with me? Because if you see this graphic here, and it's almost impossible to really contextualize all of these aspects of ourselves, spirit, soul, body, heart, brain, all of that. But just in general, if you're new to this concept, like your brain processes the stuff in this world, you have the 5 senses, you know, smell, hear, touch, taste, feel. Externally, whatever happens, your brain has a part to play in the processing of that. It turned these interesting chemical things happen within you, causes reactions within your body, and you feel and you smell and you touch and you taste and you hear and all that stuff. All of that, how your brain perceives the outside world and creates a reality in your physical body and then in your emotions, so does the heart. The heart has senses as well. It hears, it can feel God, it can taste and see that the Lord is good. It can taste and see. I mean, you know, it's like interesting what this heart can do. Now, I hope you don't get too literal on that, but your heart has a capacity to experience. And your 5 senses deep within you have to be tuned. You have to learn how to see with your heart. And your heart has to see faith. Because notice that the heart is somewhat connected to soul, so whatever is going on in your soul, the worry, the fear, it can affect your heart. Now, it won't leak all the way into your spirit, praise the living God. You know, you're like Noah in that boat. God has sealed it from the outside. Your heart is in there. You're like that spirit, that part within you that's connected where the heart touches spirit. That place is like the heavenly holy of holies that was the secret place that the Spirit of God would dwell within. The Spirit of the living God dwells within you. You know, the heart is like that. You could almost look at it too as the chamber right outside the heavenly holy of holies, where you come in and prepare to go into the presence. You know, the whole temple is a model of the heart, of the process that you go through to meet in that secret place with him. Not to be prepared to be holy to meet with him, but to recognize you are there. You carry the Spirit of the living God within you. You are the walking ark of the covenant in this earth today. That box that carried the presence of God, that the Israelites stepped into the Jordan and the water split because once they moved in the Spirit, with the Spirit, the earth responded to that. That's in you. And your heart determines what you're going to do with that Spirit, what you're going to let that Spirit do in this world. And it starts with what you're imagining, the perceptions of your heart, what you're letting yourself feel, and what you're letting dwell within you. But that Spirit is teaching your heart, is training your heart, is speaking to you, is speaking to your inner man to remind you that what He's done for you. Jesus said the Spirit, when He comes, He will show you things to come. He will lead you and guide you into all truth. The reason some of us are not being led into that truth is because our heart, for whatever reason, is not leadable into that particular truth in this particular moment. But it can be. Doesn't mean you have an evil heart. Doesn't mean you have a bad heart. Just means that part of your heart, for some reason, is dulled and desensitized to that aspect of His leading. See, God is always trying to lead you and guide you into all truth. That's why you have to protect that heart. Stay out of sin. Stay away from those toxic people.